Good morning to Hobby Evolution Hoodie Friday, 500th show. Hobby Evolution, episode 500. It's Friday, some good coffee, a nice comfortable hoodie. It's cold as F outside. Oh, that's so tasty. Wednesday, when I went to the card shop, didn't even wear a coat, wore a hoodie. Now, since I was driving an hour and a half, I had a coat with me because it was chilly. It was close to 50 degrees. 50 degrees. It's -1 right now. My computer says it's windy outside. I'm not going out there to, to confirm that. But it's cold. It's effing cold out there. So good morning. It is Friday. It's the 500th episode. So I just want to share some of my memories of Hobby Evolution over the last year and a half, the previous 499 episodes. I did quite a bit of shipping and uploading to eBay, getting close to 11,000 listings in the eBay store. I finally cracked more than 7,000 items sold in the last 90 days. Now, when I was, this is, excuse me, this is how things have changed as far as sales and the hobby and all of that. I've been full time in the hobby now for 4 months, and I just overnight reached the 7,000. I hit that 7,000 mark over the last 90 days. Now, a year ago, just about a year ago, 11 months ago, I think it was the end of March. I screenshot some of my 90-day numbers, and I had eclipsed 7,000 in mid-March last year with 3,000 active listings in a full-time job. That's how things have changed. Now I'm like, I'm working 3 times as hard to make the same amount of sales. That was how crazy the hobby was in the first quarter of 2021. Everything was selling, and I'm selling, the same similar items in my eBay store, and it's taken, almost 11,000 active listings to reach that threshold of 7,000 sold in the last 90 days. So that's kind of crazy. But it was also expected. I knew that going in because I didn't make the decision to go full time selling cards until, gosh, August, September. I didn't even think. And here's the thing. I know John Newman did a podcast last week on, I think it was Hobby Quick Hits, on why he wouldn't go full time in the hobby again. He owned a shop in the 90s. Mike Moynihan did one recently on, I think it was a Q&A podcast that he did. And his answer to would I go full time in the hobby was hell no. Not just no, hell no. So that would have been my response 1 year ago today. If you would have asked me February 18th, and I'll have to go back and mine through some of my old episodes, it was it a thought? Yes, absolutely. I think we all have those dreams of working in the hobby full time, if you're not already. And there's always the what ifs in the back of your mind. Could I make this work? Should I make this work? There's my thought process was last year in February, I was having a blast. I was, everything was moving on eBay. I was able to build my Cubs collection. I was able to take cash to card shows and pick up any Cubs cards that I wanted, because it was all fun money. And then in the back of my mind, it's like, man, sales are really swimming along. Could I make the transition and do this full time? And at that time, a year ago, I would have said, hell no, I don't want to do this full time because I'm enjoying it. I don't want to depend upon trading cards as my sole income, basically. Main source of income, I should say. It wasn't until the last summer, that's when, it started. I went back to the office last June after working from home for almost 16 months. and I didn't like my job. I worked in my position for 7.5 years. And for 6.5 of those years, I didn't like my job. It was just great benefits, uh, good pay. Um, I just kind of went through the motions. I knew it was a temporary thing. I wasn't going to do that job forever. And I wanted to get out at the snap of a finger, if I could have moved on to another position. The problem was I didn't know for 6.5 years what I wanted to do when I grew up. I worked in radio for the first 12 years of my adult life, and it was a lot of fun, but there's just no money in small market radio, in journalism and that. So wanted to make that transition. So last year at this time, Hobby Evolution, would I do it full time? Hell no. But as it creeped along in the summer, and I'm glad I made the decision when I did, because if I would have ran the numbers, and I think we all knew that first quarter last year, those sales were not going to be sustainable. Um, but there's always, okay, here's what I'm doing now, and then extrapolate out to full time. So I'm glad I waited just to get a sense of the market, coming back to earth in the summer months, uh, and then using those numbers to be more realistic and project out. So in everything's, the numbers from what I worked out last August, September, have basically stayed true, and haven't seen any, any any terrible any terrible cuts, and no, great huge increases in sales. So what's up, Jenny? Good morning to you. John, what's up? Thank you, Rich. Happy 500. I appreciate that. Herman, good morning. Zach, congrats. Thank you. Thank you, Herman. Been listening to a great conversation between John Newman and Dub. I do need to check that out. I saw that's on the latest edition of Sports Card Nation. Dub Mentality, awesome dude, both great guys. Johnny Boy Cards, good morning to you. High five, I appreciate that. So wish I could have had the time last year to put into selling cards on eBay. I was so swamped as a manager. It was unrealistic expectations. That job wanted me on 24/7. Glad it's over. I feel the same. I wasn't in that type of position. I had at times a stressful job where, every once in a while we had like an overnight shift in my position. So most issues were worked out by our on-call people. And unless it was like an emergency, I would have got not called in physically, but called and, hey, we're having it with this. Can you help? So fortunately, I didn't have that around the clock. But it was, I'm not an office guy. Like I like spontaneity. Is that the correct words? Being spontaneous, spontaneity. I like just being spontaneous, like Wednesday, working on file exchange, getting 150 items listed on eBay, and I'm going to take a day trip down to Freeport, go to the card shop, and dig through bargain boxes. I like that spontaneous. I'm going to run to, buddy Ryan, ripping one-handed, shoots me a message. Hey, the Fitchburg Target's loaded. Take the 10-minute drive over to the Target and check out the card section, or run to Goodwill. Just doing all of that. It's become. And by the way, I'm at that. So a few months ago, I was battling internal battle of, do I open the hallway, the mezzanine, outside of the ballroom to get an additional 10 tables out there. And I battled with it for a couple months and pulled it. Worked out well. In fact, one of my vendors that was out there is like, hey, can I have the same spot? Like, when he messaged me, I'm like, oh man, he's gonna be asking for a ballroom spot. No, he's like, hey, can I be in the mezzanine again? Yeah, absolutely. So now I'm fighting the fact the other two smaller banquet rooms in the hotel are on the main floor. And so I've been thinking a lot about that. It's not ideal to break it up, but demand by dealers. We've got the crowds. In fact, it would probably help alleviate the crowds, you know, at times it gets really crowded in there. And when we go to card shows and it's crowded, it kind of gives you a bad, like, oh, it's too crowded, which if you're on the other side of the table, you want that. You want heavy crowds. But if you're there as a buyer, you can't get into the bargain boxes, and it could lead to less sales. If I've got my bargain boxes out and somebody's spending hours at the bargain boxes and somebody else can't get in, and they only come away spending $2, that person may have spent 20 or 30 or 40. So that's one of the things you fight with as well with large crowds. So I got priced one of the other ballrooms. They can give me a great discount, but I'm at that position where the larger of the two rooms downstairs, it does fit up to 40 tables, which, hey, that's a great room. If it was 10, 15, then it's probably not worth, the dealers that would be in those rooms, would they get the traffic? If customers come in and, they just see 10, 15 tables, they're like, I'll come back later. I'm going to go upstairs. They never make it downstairs again. So that's what you fight with. But with 40 tables, that entices customers to come in, look around, stay, spend money with the dealers. So I'm at the point where I've got a lengthy waiting list that's now numbering over 20 tables, but it's 20 tables, and you're always week of, I'm now 8 days out. There's going to be those week of cancels, and even last month when I'm setting up, it's the day before and get a call. Oh, I've got to drop, my friend can't come. I've got to go from 2 to 1 table, or I've got COVID. So, and this guy's got 3 tables. So I go to the waiting list, do a lot of switcheroos, and I'm just not there on this short notice to expand it out. So I posted on my Facebook page yesterday, just kind of see if it would drum up additional interest, because I did take a call, another 1 or 2 calls yesterday from potential vendors. So just not quite there to expand it. February, March, we've got the Chicago Spectacular on the same weekend. I had to book my show that weekend because it was the only available. Otherwise, I would have had to run it basically 2 weeks apart, and I didn't want to do that like the first weekend of March. And then I'm going up against other, shows, which a lot of my vendors do. So, so I'm going to lose, some of my regulars, but it also allows some of the other, first timers to get in, get some space, and meet them. So at the April 30th show as being the 100 plus table show, I think 115 tables. So I think we'll definitely have the demand. I'll get some signs made up just to make sure customers coming in know, hey, there's a room back here for the first time, main ballroom upstairs, and just dirt areas. So Jenny says, so awesome. You are now loving what you do. I bet your energy is so different. Energy is and it's not just selling cards. It's I think no matter what you do in life, if you enjoy what you do, you're going to have a positive energy, and you're going to enjoy life more than, if you go to your day job. And I always compared what I did to, there's a Twilight Zone episode, like the old Twilight Zone, the black and white. I think it was a banker, and he did the same thing. He had the same routine. And I remember watching that. I was probably hungover on the 4th of July when they ran those marathons, watching Twilight Zone. I remember that episode, and I worked in radio. And when I worked in radio, it's like, I'm going to do this forever. And of course, when you're in your 20s, and money doesn't really matter in your 20s, because you can have a good time just, dollar beer night at the local watering hole. But then as you age and get close to 30, then all of a sudden it's like, hey, I would like to do a little more, but I need money. I need a better paying job. And so radio was awesome in my 20s. And I remember watching that Twilight Zone, working in radio, and thinking, when I worked in radio, I worked super early mornings, but I also, 9 o'clock, I'm off the air, go home, take a nap, come back, do my daily stuff. Sometimes I'd go in late. If I did like play, when I did play by play during the winter for basketball. So there's a lot of flexibility with my job, which I loved. I loved that flexibility where I wasn't handcuffed to a desk from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. or whatever those set hours were. I could basically make my own hours, even though I did have to be there from my on-air time of, say 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Got to be there. But hey, after that, it's like, okay, I'm going to go run some errands for a couple hours. I'll come back to the studio, do some more work. Oh, I've got a super, like I could just at the door, book up to a desk and you're in 9 to 5 or 8 to 4 or whatever it is. It's just not the same. And you have that, I had that negative energy. And I remember going back to the Twilight Zone episode, I had that radio super flexible and I watched that Twilight Zone episode, that banker, he wakes up at the same time every morning, brushes his teeth, takes a shower, gets dressed, same suit every day, goes to the office. 12 o'clock, it's time for lunch. He's back at the desk at 12:45 or 1 o'clock. 5 o'clock, he's done for the day, goes home. And it's like the same monotonous routine day in, day out. And I'm like, man, I'm glad I work in radio. I'm never going to be that guy. I would hate my life. And then I became that guy. And I didn't hate my life, but I hated my job and I hated being handcuffed to a desk and not having that flexibility. So now I have that, I spontaneous. I have the flexibility. But there is some added stress where now I'm depending on where in a year ago, go to a card show, sell some cards. It's fun money. Now it's like, okay, I've got to be careful of I'm starting to build a business here. I can't just go and buy a bunch of tobacco cards. I've got to watch my pennies. So that's the difference. But 100 times out of 100, I'm taking over my previous job. And everybody's different. And it's okay if cards are just a hobby. That's cool. They were just a hobby for me for a long time. And then I made that transition. Still, let's go to good. She'd prefer if I was dropping stuff off as opposed to picking stuff up. What's up, 40-year-old versions? Good morning to you. Happy Friday. How are we doing? I got to come up to a Madison show again. Absolutely. It from the last time, I think you came in May of last year. So we probably had, May was our first, that was like, wow, we're doing it. Good show. And it was like 30 tables. And now it's at 80 with a long waiting list. And it's been fun to watch and see people come in from all areas. So yes, you make it up. It's a much different show than what you saw last May. Don't mess with a hobby. Good morning to you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I did a retail run yesterday. Our local Walmart stores have been up and down being stocked on Thursdays. I think 2 out of the last 3 weeks, the Walmart cards have been stocked on Thursday afternoons. There was one week where, and I even went later in the afternoon. I even went there in the afternoon and I think it was like 3 o'clock, had not been stocked. So I assumed they were getting stocked on Friday on that week. And then I think the last 2 weeks it's been Thursday. So like I said yesterday, I'm not overall excited about Topps Series 1. But as soon as I see it on the shelf, I'm going to be excited. And when I rip into that first pack, I'm going to be excited. So I went to the nearest Walmart, which has kind of a crappy card section. It's a really small section, and it's also a small Walmart. It's not a super center, but what do they call those? I think they have names for those Walmarts where they're not super centers, and they're pretty rare. Most Walmarts now are now super centers, grocery section. It pretty much has everything a normal Walmart has. It's just all compacted into a small store. Is it Marketplace maybe? Anyway, it's a small Walmart, small card section. Um, just kind of it's close for me. I also instead of going to my main post office, which is actually further away, I went to there's a post office by this particular Walmart just to drop stuff off in the blue boxes. Um, so the other two are the bigger Walmarts, the super centers, and they have large, big card sections. So nothing, absolutely nothing at that first Walmart, which doesn't give me any idea as if the other stores will be stocked, because I think last week was the same. There was zero cards there, maybe some Tops update, but then the other two stores had been stocked. So then I went to the other store and had not been stocked, and I could tell because there was a lot of empty space, and these sections have been pretty full lately. There was a bunch of WWE Tops, which I ended up never. I looked at the checklist. It just doesn't appeal to me. And a couple of Heritage boxes, which I like the Heritage, and I bought 5 or 6, but I've moved on from the WWE Heritage. So nothing there. And I went a little early. I went earlier than normal just because when I've gone at 2 or 3 in the afternoon, they've already been stocked. So I don't want to go, it's like timing it right. I don't want to go super early and beat the card vendor. But what if they have good stuff and I miss? What if there's AEW Upper Deck, but there's, somebody beats me to it. So I went a little earlier, like 1:30. So it hadn't been stocked. So then I'm like, well, maybe they're going to stock the other store, the East Side store, first. So I went to that one, also had not been stocked. So came home empty-handed. Not empty-handed. I bought a couple tripods, a small tripod for my nostalgia. By the way, Spider-Man 2, I've never seen it. It's the movie from 2004. It's 2004 Upper Deck Spider-Man 2. It was voted on in the chat. It's not nostalgic for me, so I shouldn't have put it up for vote. So at the end of this show, the next nostalgia break, which I'm going to do later today and get uploaded, I'll do a vote, but I'm going to pull packs that are actually nostalgic for me, because Charlie's Angels, it was a fun pack to open. I never watched it. So for me, it wasn't nostalgic. So I can't really tell the story with the not nostalgic break. So I'm going to pull some packs out and make sure that they're a little, at least I can tell a story, a personal story, and tie it in with the whole theme of nostalgia. So I will make some retail runs today. I'll hit Target, may hit up the larger Walmart down the road, to see if they have any Top Series 1. I'll be excited to open it. I am not optimistic. Sounds like not much room was made between the two sides yesterday. Met for 15 minutes and didn't really come to much agreement. The one positive that came out of yesterday's news with Major League Baseball was they're willing to meet every day, or at least every day next week, to get something, to try to get closer and come to a deal. So I think I saw the deadline to get the season started on time is February 28th. So we still have 10 days to get the season started on time. I'm a little optimistic, since that date's in place and they're willing to at least speed up the process, where we've had all winter and they've met how many times did they meet before, like this past week? I mean, it seemed like they only met like every 3 or 4 weeks. Like there were no news coming out in December. It's like I feel I feel like they were procrastinating with these negotiations, much like I procrastinated in high school with a paper that was due. And it's like, oh, hey, I've got all winter break to finish this paper. And then it's due on January 15th, and it's January 13th, and I haven't even started. I feel like that's what the owners and players, and more so on the owners, because it seems like the players want to get done more than the owners. And I don't know. I won't jump on that soapbox again. Let's see. High quality recall there. Up to 80. That's awesome. Thank you. MLB needs to say play ball. I agree. Let's get it done. Ours hasn't been stocked in 3 weeks. Jenny says MLB is becoming a joke. Should treat them like jurors. That's a great point. You're not leaving this hotel until you come to an agreement. I like that idea. Get in a freaking boardroom, rent out the Sheraton or the Ritz-Carlton. Their owners, they're making billions, so they can go to the Ritz-Carlton, rent out a couple rooms and freaking get it done. Actually, you know what would get it done fast? Don't stick them in the Ritz-Carlton. They might enjoy that. Stick them in the Motel 6. They got to have a banquet hall. Stick them in the Motel 6. They won't like that. They won't like staying in those beds. Stick them in the Motel 6 and make them get it. Jenny, you said it best. This is drama, drama, drama. I was super excited for MLB this season, now losing interest. I kind of agree with that. Like I said the other day, like Top Series 1, usually release week, and I typically don't have much excitement for Top Series 1 leading into the release. But by release week, once I start seeing people, friends of mine on social media, like Herman ripped a box the other night, that's when I start getting the FOMO, and I get super excited, and I can't wait to go find some in the wild, find some blasters at Target or Walmart, and rip some of my own. I haven't felt that. Even now, seeing Herman's rip or other people rip, seeing the hits, I just don't have that excitement, because we should be watching MLB Network right now with it's the Cubs are reporting to spring training, pitchers and catchers. Oh, here's whoever. But we're not getting that. We're getting the owners and the players not agreeing, and it is frustrating. It's never a good time for a lockout. I agree with that. The off season is the best time of the best time of any. But now we're creeping into our spring training time, and I still haven't booked my trip. I'm going. I'm just dragging my feet with my booking, my Arizona trip booking next month, like the owners and players are doing with these damn negotiations. Like, I'll get to it when I get to it. I'm hoping for flights to go down. I could say, so they have like one stop, they have layovers, and I think a round trip with a one stop is like $300. But it's like, I don't want to deal with, like, I want a nonstop, and I have those we have one nonstop flight, Madison to Phoenix. That's the one I want. That's what I took like 2 years ago, and because I will pay the premium to not have to go to another airport, get on another flight, and do all that. I hate flying, so I will spend more money to take the nonstop flight, and unfortunately, it's more than twice as much. I think the last time I looked, it's like 600. The one stop was like $305. The nonstop was like $650. I'm gonna pay $650 to avoid getting on two planes. But I don't want to, but I'm going to. I don't want to, but I probably will. And I'm hoping those prices come down, and they probably won't. So I'm going. I just haven't booked it yet. Same with the National. I'm going to the National. I just haven't booked my trip yet. And with the National, I'm not like the VIP packages. Like, I'm going to get a VIP package, but it's not this, like, I get the super VIP package in Chicago because it's a drive for me, and I stay out at a hotel, and drive in every morning. So that free parking comes in really handy. It's like a 75, like that's worth $75 because I would pay for that parking regardless in Chicago. In Atlantic City, not so much. So the super VIP package isn't as important to me. So I'm just kind of dragging my feet on that as well, just because, I don't want to tie the money up for all those months when I can just, plop it down as we get closer to those dates. With the lockout, the delay, I'm not in Arizona. Actually, splitting time between house projects and farm. Honestly, I'm going to Atlanta, Dallas. Was going to Arizona spring training and hang out. Awesome. What's up, Dan? Good evening to you. So thanks, a great audience today. Hit the like button if you haven't already. I appreciate that. Subscribe if you haven't. Up to 600, getting close to 650 subscribers. My goal for the year is 1,000. And who would have thought? I think when I started Hobby Evolution, which I started in the summer of 2020, I think I was at like 40 subscribers, 50 subscribers. And it's hard to get subscribers on YouTube. It's not like Twitter where you can just follow a bunch of people and engage. It's a little more difficult. And I don't consume a lot of YouTube content, which is probably why it's a little more of a struggle. Dan says, do you have any non-sport autos? Non-sport autos? I don't think so. Because if I pull them from a pack like Allen and Ginter, I sell them right away because they're a premium out of that product. And I don't collect, like, I'm not really an autograph collector outside of the Cubs. Like, I collect Cubs autographs, but I don't really have, I don't really care about other autographs. I have a Wisconsin Badger basketball game ball that's signed by the coaching staff from a few years ago in Barry Alvarez that was gifted to me. But that's sport. I don't think I have any non-sport autographs. Let's see. DR, what's up? Congrats. I appreciate that. So I'm going to wrap things up, episode 500, get some more coffee, do some shipping. But before I go, let's take a vote in the chat. The next algebraic. Okay, let's see. Oh, this is a good one. I've been looking forward to this one. Let's see. Again, I want to have packs that are nostalgic for me. So and I didn't prepare for this beforehand. That's why we're here. Okay, let's do these 5. So I've got 5. Dan wants Voyager. No, I hate Star Trek. I'm going to hate rip that pack because I hate Star Trek. Hate's a strong word, but I feel that I could use it for Star Trek. And I actually have seen, like, Star Wars. I don't think I've watched a minute of it. And it's funny when I tweet that, and I like to tweet that because it generates like a lot of like angst amongst Star Wars fans. Like, some people say I'm bragging. It's like somebody comment, that's a weird brag. Like, it's not really a brag, it's the truth. And I like to tweet it because it generates this type of angst from Star Wars fans. So I do like to tweet that. But Star Trek, like, it was a TV, and I'm talking the TV show, and it usually came on, like, it was in syndication on Fox when I was a kid. It usually came on like after shows that I watched. Like, it would come on at like 10 p.m. And then they would do like at 9 o'clock they would do like reruns of The Simpsons and whatever show. And then so I'd be watching The Simpsons, and then at 10 o'clock, like, you get the intro to Star Trek. And I grew up with 4 channels, so it was Star Trek or the news. Usually I chose the news, but sometimes, like, if it was like early on, before remotes were around, I probably didn't have a TV with a remote in my bedroom until I was in like junior high. So like if I was in grade school, I had like this old, dial. I had to actually physically get up and walk to the TV to change the channel. So that's when I just had to suck it up, and Star Trek was on in the background. Let's see. Dan says, I'm going to go back to the chat real quick. Think I want to buy some autos of actors from my favorite shows if available. There's a lot of TTM, and I know it's a little more difficult for you in Korea. But I know George was doing some TTMs. There's there's a lot of, if you go to sportscollectors.net, there's a a forum with non-sports, and there's a lot of actors and actresses that do sign through the mail. Don't mess with a hobby. Happy 500. Thank you. You should give it to me then. Hey, there you go. I did receive a package from you. I picked up some stuff that you probably don't want, but I'm going to send it to you anyway. Um, so yeah, maybe I'll throw a pack of that in there. Don't mess with a hobby. What was the final number on the Mike Dimple Trout? It's in my. It's not really in my collection because I don't any. The only collection I have is Cubs. Everything else is essentially for sale. Um, but I'm holding on to it. I'm not selling it at the moment. I'm going to wait till, I think really on stuff like that, this is the, like, there may not be a worse time to sell something like that. I think the only, I shouldn't say that because if there's a strike or the lockout is in June, that would probably be even worse because now you have way less of an interest. At least right now, it's preseason still, but still there's a lockout and it's the off season. So I'm just gonna hang on to it. It's gonna be for sale eventually at some point. I'm just gonna wait, and I'm in no need or rush to sell it. And obviously the value is not where it was with the the little imperfection in the card. So I'm just going to hang on to it and see what the market does here once we get baseball back. Dan says don't care to do TT and want certified autos. Gotcha. So let's do a vote in the 5 packs here. I have a favorite. I'm not going to reveal my favorite, but I want to put it to a vote in the chat. So choice number 1 is Desert Storm. This is the war cards. Was it a war? It was a conflict, I believe. So these are not like the baseball with the shield. This is the actual cards of tanks and stuff. Desert Storm, I think that's from 1991. E.T. 1982, and I think I've shared the story of the E.T. Stocking E.T. Third choice, Nintendo game pack with Super Mario on the front. These are from 1989. Of course, I grew up on Nintendo playing Super Mario Brothers and Tecmo Super Bowl. So Nintendo game pack from 1989. Choice number 4, also, but as when it was on in the 80s, but I have reruns and it's on some of the movie. I believe this probably I did open so of these 5, I only ripped as a kid 2 of these 5 choices. One of them was Dick Tracy. I believe these from 1990. This is Dick Tracy the movie. Doesn't say a year, but I'm pretty sure these came out in 1990. So those are the 5 choices: Desert Storm, E.T., Nintendo, 21 Jump Street, and Dick Tracy. I'll give you a minute to vote. What pack do you want me to see rip on the next Nostalgia Breaks? I'll record the episode later today. Dick Tracy, 21 Jump Street, Nintendo, E.T., and Desert Storm. Recall opening. Well, I know for a fact I only ripping some non-sports like Dick Tracy, and then a year later Desert Storm. So those are the options. So we've got a vote for Desert Storm. Nope. He 40 changes his vote. ET. So we've got a vote for ET. We've got a vote for Nintendo. 21 Jump. A second vote for ET. Fun fact: I was in a nostalgic NES mood and ordered 2 old school Nintendo systems, and both arrived destroyed. Oh, bummer. And Shaw Cards votes for ET. So it looks like we have 3 votes for ET. So I'm gonna wait here another few seconds. I think ET's gonna run with it. Don't mess with the hobby. Throws in his vote for Nintendo. That's a second vote for Nintendo. Let's see. If you did not vote, for either Nintendo or ET. We're gonna do a final here, championship round. So if you did not vote for, so let's see, Dan voted for 21 Jump Street, and Dan was the only one. So Dan, which one would you vote for, ET or Nintendo? If the vote goes to ET, we're gonna announce ET as the winner. OG Card Scammer goes Nintendo. So where are we tied at 3-3? I think we're tied at 3-3. So Dan, you could be the tiebreaker. ET or Nintendo? OG in the house. What's up, OG? So we've got 1 for ET, 2 for ET, 3 for ET. We've got 1 for Nintendo, 2 for Nintendo, 3 for Nintendo. So it's 3-3. Who's going to be the tiebreaker? One of these 2 packs was actually the one I wanted to open. 2 phones, 2 things up. Dan breaks the tie. Nintendo wins. So I'll do ET tomorrow. So later today, I'll do a nostalgia break on the Nintendo game pack from 1989 Topps. And then tomorrow I'll do the video on 82 Topps ET. Nostalgia Breaks channel was Spider-Man 2 from 2004 Upper Deck. Dan, thank you for the assist on Tobey Maguire. I said Ewan McGregor. I was close. McGregor and Maguire. I was close on that. But yeah, I couldn't remember Tobey Maguire's name. And I got Kirsten Dunst because I've seen a lot of Kirsten Dunst movies. I haven't really seen many Tobey Maguire movies. So later today, I'll break Nintendo X. Check it out. I think I'm 5 episodes in of Nostalgia Breaks. Thank you so much, not just for the great chat today, but for the last 500 episodes. It's been a lot of fun, and we'll continue to do so most every day. Let's see. Tomorrow, I will go live tomorrow. My weekend schedule varies. So usually I'm on between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. on the weekends, Saturdays and Sundays. So tomorrow I don't plan on going to any shows. In fact, I don't think there are any nearby shows tomorrow. I think Woodstock, Illinois might be the closest show. I went to that show last month, I believe, January, I think. So I about half the vendors I see in Rockford, so I won't be making that trip. So I will go live tomorrow. And then let's see, next Saturday, a week from tomorrow, is the Madison Card Show. 80 tables, 48 vendors. Going to be a great show. Looking forward to it. So come check us out if you're within driving distance. I've got some vendors coming in from Minnesota. Let's see, I've got a whole bunch from Iowa and Illinois coming in. A couple of vendors from Iowa City, which is a hike as well. So getting a lot of vendors from outside the area, which is awesome. So thanks for tuning in. Thank you for helping me get to 500 episodes. If I didn't have this great chat, this great audience on a daily basis, I probably would have given up Hobby Evolution a long time ago. I started it just to talk because I worked from home. When I was at my previous job, I was working from home, and most of my conversations took place via email and chat. So I didn't talk. So except to my dog, and my dog was getting tired of listening to me talk. So I'm like, hey, I'm gonna fire up. I've got this Blue Yeti microphone that I bought, a year before, that I never used. Get this out and do some talking. Just talk the hobby. So it's been a lot of fun. Brian, what's up? 500, amazing. Thank you. I think I've caught like 12 episodes. Well, hey, that's 12 more than many others. So thank you. So have a great day. Later today, I'm going to be ripping this Nintendo game pack from 89 Topps. It'll be on Nostalgia Breaks. I'll probably get that uploaded. I might do it right now just to get it out of the way, so then I can tackle my other duties. So I think I'm going to go in the other room and rip that right now. So I'll put that up in a little bit. So again, thank you so much for all your support, all your great comments. Hit the like button, subscribe, tell your friends. I appreciate it. Have a great Friday, and I'll be back tomorrow morning, hopefully reviewing Top Series 1. Hopefully I can find some blaster boxes today, and we can recap that tomorrow morning. Have a great Friday. We'll talk tomorrow.